Hey everyone, welcome back to the DFS Bros. Today we're going to be talking about our running backs 7 through 12 per standard scoring. First off, we have Joe Mixon, and Kirk will lead off with what we have on him.
All right, so Joe Mixon, he's our number 7 running back. Started the year off awful. He was 31st running back
Mm-hmm.
through the first couple weeks. After that, he was an absolute beast. The offense went through him, whether they're up or down, they just completely ran the ball every play.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he ended up being number 1 in evaded tackles, 5th in total carries, 8th in yards, and this was all behind the second worst run blocking offensive line. So what they did in the off seasons, they drafted Joe Burrow. He's going to help that offense a ton. They gave him weapons with the rookie wide receiver. They got AJ Green back. Tyler Boyd's going to go into his slot role where he thrives at. They completely fixed the offensive line. They had an injury last year, suspension. So that's all changed now. That offense should be scoring more. Scoring is huge in fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to get the touchdowns to go with those yards. Everyone knows Mixon's a great talent. He's always been a yard machine. It's kind of like the Steven Jackson back in the day with the Rams, just doesn't have the touchdowns to kind of push him into that top elite level running back yet. But hopefully he'll be in the passing game a little bit. Gio is still there. They gave him a contract last year, but he just wasn't utilized the way people thought he would be. But given Joe Burrow and this new offense, really think the Bengals should at least score a little bit. Only downside, that division is tough. So facing the Steelers D, the Baltimore D is going to be a little rough. He is a durable running back, though. He's only missed 4 games in his whole career, so.
Yeah, I like Joe Mixon a lot. With the draft position, I like to grab in mock drafts. I've been going for the 9 to 12 spot. Joe Mixon's a guy I've been targeting a lot. It's been hard to find end of year standard rankings from the end of the season last year, but Kirk was right when he said that he was the 31st running back weeks 1 through 8, but weeks 10 through 17, when he got back from his bye week, he was a running back 4 on the second half of the season. They are loaded with talent, like Kirk said. Their defense is absolutely awful. They're going to be playing catch up every single game. Joe Burrow could possibly break the rookie touchdown record because of that. They drafted T. Higgins in the second round, someone to go with Joe Burrow. They still have AJ Green, hopefully healthy. Tyler Boyd, contract year for John Ross, who will try to prove he's worth anything to get a second contract for a new team. So I agree with Kirk. Joe Mixon is a great spot for 7. And could
Now, they have not talked about his contract yet. Mixon is one of those running backs who doesn't want to be ran into the ground and not paid for it.
right.
So right now the talk is about Cook. Don't be surprised if in a week or a couple of weeks you start hearing about Mixon and his agent.
Mm-hmm. And I could potentially see Joe Mixon getting to top 5 status. Next up, we have Kenyan Drake, someone who I'm extraordinarily huge on. I have him at 8 because I have to bring myself back down to earth a little bit because Kenyan Drake is going to be an amazing running back for fantasy this year. He is my second round target most of the time. Usually I've been going Joe Mixon, Kenyan Drake in my mock drafts, and that's just the way it's been. That's the way it's probably going to be in my actual draft unless someone snipes either one of them for me, and then I'm out of luck. I have to find a new strategy real quick. I went through all of the Cardinals running backs last year. I went through who started the game each week. Weeks 1 through 6, where David Johnson started, the 2 weeks of Chase Edmonds in the middle, and the last 8 weeks of their season with Kenyan Drake starting. Their individual those games of who was starting those games equaled out to be the running back 2 last year. When I explained this to Kirk, it was hard. He didn't really understand at first, but once I put it in simpler terms, he got it. Basically, uh, it's just as I said it. Um, each week I took the running back that started the game, not the highest scoring running back for the team, but the one that started the game, and used their fantasy score since they had 3 starting running backs last year, and that equaled out to the running back 2. Um, Up until David Johnson got hurt last year, he was probably going to end up in a top 10 finish. If they didn't trade for Kenyan Drake, Chase Edmonds probably would have ended with a top 15 finish. I think whoever the running back is for the Cardinals, no matter if it's Kenyan Drake or if he gets hurt and it's Chase Edmonds, um, they are going to flourish and they will have a top 10 or top 15 finish in fantasy. My only concern with them is playing the Rams defense, the 49ers defense, and the Seattle Seahawks defense 6 of their 16 games. But though the NFC West is a division where they throw those matchups out the window, all the NFC West interdivision games, they always seem to be completely opposite of their other games. So Kenyan Drake is primed for a great year. Cliff Kingsbury is an amazing coach. Kenyan Drake's, I have him at 8, but if Kenyan Drake was not their starting running back, whoever it may have been, would be in this spot. My analysis is more on the system rather than the player itself. Do you have anything on him, Kirk?
Yeah, just to get back to the player. One great thing about Drake in his short career, he's missed 0 games. Hopefully, I'm not jinxing him.
Yeah.
But he's played 8 games with Arizona last year. Ended up being 5th in rush yards during those 8 games, 2nd in touchdowns, 2nd in 10-plus yards. He isn't a great running back in a great offensive scheme, but they do have a bad offensive line. Ranked 24th last year. They did improve it with offensive tackle Josh Jones, so it should be a little better. Plus, the team should be scoring a little bit more. I noted in our quarterback video that Kyler Murray and the Cardinals had one of the worst red zone percentage. So, looking for a big year from Drake too.
Yeah, we're both really high on Drake. So next up, Kirk's going to talk about Aaron Jones.
Jones, he's a very talented running back. You're going to hear a lot of negative in this part, even though he's my number 9 running back. He's going to have touchdown regression. He scored 18 touchdowns last year, led the league. He was number 2 fantasy scoring option at running back. It's just when you draft Jones, you know you're not going to get the number 2 running back. They do have a running back by committee approach. They had it last year. They're going to have it this year. We drafted A.J. Dillon, who was an absolute beast out of Boston College. Derrick Henry-esque, just doesn't have the breakaway speed Derrick Henry has. So there's going to be touchdown regression. Last year, he was 4th in eluded tackles. He was 6th in yards created behind a top 10 offensive line. Green Bay, we lost Beluga, but we did get another offensive lineman who's supposed to be just as good. Now, the main thing that that Jones got his fantasy points from last year, he ended up scoring about 30 in PPR, which was McCaffrey-esque during Adams' absence. Adams missed 4 games. During those 4 games, Jones had 7 targets per game, 5.5 receptions, averaged 70 yards. And without Adams, he was just an absolute beast. He scored all of his receiving touchdowns. But with Adams, during the 12 games, he only averaged 2 receptions, 3.5 targets, 0 touchdowns, 16 yards. Went from 70 all the way down to 16, and only averaged 16 points PPR. Now, that would have had him right around, if you statted that out all 16 games, he would have finished at the running back 9. So he's still a top 10 running back. But just with Adams projected to be there all year, going to be the focal point of the offense, Green Bay does not have anyone else that I think can score. Not a big Funches guy, not a big Lazard guy. Rodgers doesn't like throw the tight ends. So it is going to be Jones and Adams. But just projecting the running back by committee and touchdown regression, he'll probably end up around running back number 9. We do have a great playoff schedule for fantasy. We get to play Detroit week 14. They were the number 4 worst run defense. Carolina was the worst, so you're going to have them week 15. And then in your championship, you're going to play Tennessee. So if you can get in the playoffs, he's going to help you get to that championship game.
Yeah, I like Aaron Jones a lot as well. I think he's going to come back down to earth some. While he did have monstrous games where he was the running back 1 on the week by a wide margin, he had 5 games where he wasn't even the running back 40 on the week. I think those are going to meet more in the middle this year with, as Kirk said, Adams and Jones are going to be the focal point of this offense. Aaron Rodgers is only going to give the ball to those 2. They have no one else to throw the ball to. Jamal Williams, he's a good running back, but Aaron Jones is an amazing talent. And for some reason, the coach they have now and their last coach, they did not want to give him the ball. But every time they give him the ball, he does amazing things. And that's a little bit why Kirk and I are worried for Zeke with Mike McCarthy, because of what happened with Aaron Jones and how great of a talent he is. But that being said, Aaron Jones is good enough to produce when he does get the ball to be a top 10 fantasy running back. Next up, we have Josh Jacobs. I really like the Raiders offense. I love John Gruden, not just as a coach, but as a commentator.
Spider-2 Wabanana.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a funny guy. He knows football very, very well. Coming back into the NFL, signed a 10-year contract, is proving that he wants to run the ball through the running back and the tight end. That's why they drafted Josh Jacobs last year. They locked up Darren Waller for the next few years. They traded Amari Cooper because they said, we don't need a big name receiver. We got this. But Josh Jacobs, he is going to do well. He was hurt a lot last year. He separated his shoulder and still continued to play. And the weeks he had his shoulder separated, those were his breakout blow-up weeks. Those are the weeks that you should have started him. And to me, I don't mind the injury. He should be fully healthy. He's in the second year of the NFL, entering a sophomore season. I believe in him. I think he is going to finish as a top 10 fantasy running back. I do think this detriments Darren Waller some, with Josh Jacobs coming back and them adding a little bit of help on the wide receiver by bringing in Henry Ruggs and doing the old Al Davis getting the fastest player in the draft thing. But I think this offense is set up to have Josh Jacobs and Darren Waller both be top 10 in their positions, with the possibility of having a wide receiver be top 20. I think this offense is going to be sneaky good. I think John Gruden knows what he's doing. You have anything on him, Kirk?
So a couple things on Jacobs that I picked up. The main thing, he was a great running back last year.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't used in the receiving end. He is a great receiver, though. It's just kind of weird. They haven't made him a 3-down back yet.
Mm-hmm.
There was talks last year he was going to be a 3-down back. Talks this year that he's going to pick up the receiving role. They actually let go DeAndre Washington, who came in last year during Jacobs' absence and was an absolute beast as far as fantasy-wise. So last year, Jacobs had only 20 receptions on the year, 28 targets. They're letting go Washington, so that should be an easy uptick. I'm hoping that he can get anywhere between 50 and 60 targets, maybe end up running that 40 possible 50 receptions. If he does, he'll easily be a top 10 running back, possibly even top 6. So the risk that you're going to take with him isn't really there. The Raiders' defense is awful, so they're going to need to score. He's going to be one of their options. They have average offensive line, and he's a good running back. 6th in yards created, 8th in evaded tackles. So he knows how to get the job done.
Yeah, I agree. To me, it's just he's another one of those Alabama running backs that's going to come in and just dominate. Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, Josh Jacobs, Kenyan Drake. There is plentiful. Like Alabama just knows how to churn out running backs into the NFL and be amazing prospects in real life football and fantasy football. Yeah, just Josh Jacobs is going to be great this year, as Kirk said, if he gets those 40 to 50 receptions. So next we have Nick Chubb from the Cleveland Browns, and Kirk will go ahead and tell you about him.
All right, so we have Chubb statted at 11. He is the perfect running back you could have for standard scoring. He's not going to really get that many receptions. He's going to be a workhorse back. He's not going to get injured, and he's elusive, strong, and fast. He ended up 2nd in rushing last year, 1st in runs over 15 yards, 2nd in evaded tackles, 2nd in yards created, and this was with a portion of the season with Kareem Hunt. That is what we're going to kind of hit on today a little bit. When Kareem Hunt got there, the offense completely changed.
Mm-hmm.
He lost a lot of his touches. He lost a lot of his receptions. Now, granted, Chubb still was the focal point of the offense, but going from 80% of the workload down to 60 did affect him. He's got a new coach there who loves to run the ball. They have one of the worst offensive lines, but with him being as great as a running back is, kind of negated that all last year. I don't see it being that big of a problem this year. In his career, a crazy thing about him, he's missed 0 games and 0 practices. He's never been injured.
Mm-hmm.
So that durability, if you can get him, if you can get a player like Zeke, those guys, you just know that plug and play.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing with what I'm hearing about Kareem Hunt, he's also going to be used like last year in the slot.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be times where both of them are on the field. I believe Kareem Hunt's going to be a great PPR in certain leagues. And if anything was to happen to Chubb, Hunt would easily be a top 5 running back, and that's no exaggeration. But as far as Chubb, he's going to be a top 10 running back. Should finish the year top 10. He's going to have a lot of touchdowns. Just hoping that he can get the full workload to kind of push him to that top 5.
Yeah, I agree. Nick Chubb is going to be an amazing running back. Like I said earlier, it's hard to find information on end-of-season rankings and scoring from standard leagues. Because of that, I found in PPR leagues, before Kareem Hunt came back, Nick Chubb was a running back 5 on the season, averaging 17.4 fantasy points per game. When Kareem Hunt came back from suspension, he dropped from the running back 5 to the running back 15 and dropped from 17.4 points per game to 12.3 points per game. That is those 5 points. That could be the difference of winning your week. I know I've had games that I've won by 0.1. I know I've had games where I tied with someone because a player didn't get an extra yard. Kirk is a little bit of a psychopath and doesn't allow fractional scoring in the league he is our league manager for. So it's very frustrating to have players like that. So I like Nick Chubb. If Kareem Hunt wasn't there, I think Nick Chubb would be automatically placed in my top 5. I think Stefanski is going to do an amazing job uh, helping both running backs flourish where they excel at and pulling out their strengths tremendously. And I think Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt could both potentially finish in the top 20. I don't have Kareem Hunt ranked in the top 20, obviously, but I think with the way Stefanski has an offense and likes to run the ball, I think it's a possibility.
And you got to look. Last year they had Kitchens. He's one of the
Mhm.
worst offensive coaches I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So they do have the weapons. The only thing they're kind of missing is that offensive line. They have the quarterback. They have the receivers. They have the running back. So
Mhm.
they should be able to push the ball, score, and kind of do what they want.
Well, they got they signed an offensive guard. It's either a guard or a tackle that was on the Titans last year. That was on the left side of the line. And Derrick Henry, he averaged a lot more yards running to the left side of the line last year than he did towards the right or in the middle. And Cleveland Browns signed him away from them. So they did shore up a part of the offensive line. Obviously, a great lineman at that. So I think Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt will both have great years. So next we have Miles Sanders. Uh, I don't know about Kirk, but the 12th spot was hard for me to pick for. I think there's plenty of running backs I could have put here. I could have put Austin Eckler here. I debated it between Miles Sanders and Austin Eckler. I could have put even Clyde Edwards-Helaire here. I debated that between
Whoa.
Miles. Yeah. The only reason I didn't is because
I'm hating on Damian Williams.
I'm not hating on Damian Williams. That's not hating on
Contract year, the man's going to be a beast.
That's not hating on Damian Williams. That's loving on Damian Williams by not putting Clyde this far up. I could have even put Todd Gurley this high. But Miles Sanders feels the safest and most comfortable here. I know I'm decked out in all my Eagles stuff today, so it's kind of you have to take my word with a little bit of a grain of salt. I think Miles Sanders will excel. Doug Peterson's never had a running back this good. Last year, whenever Jordan Howard got hurt, Miles Sanders came in and got a bigger workload, and he was doing amazing the last 6 or 7 weeks of the year. He's one of the players that's been hyped up a lot this coming into the season. After draft season, around maybe a month and a half ago, in late April, early May, I saw people had him ranked at 17 to 20, and now I've seen a lot of different analysts have him ranked in their top 15. I'm a little bit more bullish than them. I think top 11 running backs are in a different tier than everything under them. I think Doug Peterson's going to have a lot of fun coaching Miles Sanders and Boston Scott. I just think even though Doug Peterson has gone with running back by committee in the past, he's never had a running back as good as Miles Sanders, which will lead to Miles Sanders getting a higher workload than the other running backs that came before him in Philadelphia. One thing that I did see when doing research is the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season last year, and when Miles Sanders and Boston Scott were both finishing as top 10 running backs in the week, they were facing run defenses in the bottom 5 of run DVOA. So that could be a little misleading. People could be ranking him this high because of recency bias and seeing him at the end of the year explode. People are really high on Boston Scott as a really great handcuff to draft. I think mine is not necessarily through recency bias. It's mainly through Doug Peterson's never had a running back this good. He's young. He's on a rookie contract. Let's run him into the ground. Kirk?
All right, so Sanders averaged 14 touches a game, receiving and rushing. Though towards the end of the year, when Jordan Howard was gone, he averaged right at 20, 19.6 the final 6 games of the year. He had 7th in receiving yards, 12th in receptions, 13th in targets for the running back, all behind the number 1 run blocking line. Now that was with Jason Peters, who as of right now is not signed yet.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's gone, the offensive line still should be good, but he was one of those elite run blocking offensive linemen. We hit on Jordan Howard's gone. That's going to be a lot of vacated touchdowns, extra rushes going to Sanders, and Boston Scott's really his only competition. Boston Scott did perform good at the end of last year, but he's not Sanders.
Right, and I agree with that. Do you have anything else you'd like to say about our top 12 running backs? Anyone in your 13 through 20 range who could potentially get this high?
Gurley. Gurley's just a huge question mark. So if he doesn't even have to be what the old Gurley was. If he can just be a portion, 75%. If those knees have anything left in them, that team's going to score, and they're going to have he's going to have a lot of touchdowns. And in Sanders scoring, that's what it's all about, is just touchdowns. He's going to have all the receptions he can handle. So his health and his knees. If I were to know that he would be completely healthy and play every game this year, which I don't project, he would easily be a top 10 running back. But this year, going with the strategy of 2 running backs first round, you'll see it in our mock videos when we do like our mock drafts. That's what we're both keying on, getting those elite running backs early. I want to have at least 2 of these guys that we talked about, possibly adding in Eckler with our first 2 picks.
Yeah, I'm the same way. That's why I've been drafting later in the first round for specifically to get 2 top 12 running backs, because you can get 2 top 20 receivers in the rounds 3 and 4. And rounds 3 and 4 for running backs, you're already in the 20 through 30 range for running backs. That's how deep running backs are going in the first 3 or 4 rounds this year. Do you have anything else to say about running backs before we end up this video?
Yep, that's about it.
All right. Thank you for checking out our running back rankings. We'll be back soon with our wide receivers. Make sure you leave a like, a comment, subscribe. Tell us who your top 12 running backs are. Tell us if you have any different opinions than us. Like I said, again, thank you for checking us out.